Welcome to our channel. Here, we explore the fascinating world of history, uncovering lost treasures, mysterious artifacts, and hidden stories from the past. Join us on an exciting journey as we delve into some of the most intriguing historical mysteries and uncover secrets long forgotten. Lost Tudor treasures, uncovering hidden riches, secret vaults, and alchemical mysteries. Part 1. The Age of Opulence and Intrigue. The Tudor era was a time of splendor, a world where power and wealth intertwined in dazzling displays of luxury. Kings and queens adorned themselves with gold and gemstones, their courts filled with opulent treasures that spoke of their dominance and divine right to rule. Yet, despite the grandeur, not all of these riches survived the passage of time. Some were stolen, others hidden, and many simply disappeared, leaving behind mysteries that still tantalize historians and treasure seekers today. When Henry VII took the throne in 1485, he understood that wealth was more than just an asset, it was a statement. His court was filled with gold plates, silver goblets, and tapestries woven with intricate patterns of silk and thread of gold. Yet compared to his son, Henry VIII, the first Tudor monarch's displays of wealth were modest. Henry VIII took extravagance to an entirely new level, commissioning exquisite suits of armor, crowns encrusted with rubies, and jewel-encrusted books of prayer. His palaces gleamed with the finest furnishings, and his treasury overflowed with coins, each stamped with his formidable likeness. But immense wealth invited danger, with political rivals lurking in the shadows and foreign powers eager for a piece of England's fortune. Not all of these treasures remained secure. Some vanished under mysterious circumstances, their fates unknown even to this day. The disappearance of Tudor riches was not always due to theft. Sometimes it was an act of desperation, of secrecy, of survival. Consider the dissolution of the monasteries in the late 1530s. Henry VIII's break from the Catholic Church was not just a matter of faith. It was a means to seize control of the vast wealth held by England's monasteries. Gold crosses, illuminated manuscripts, and ornate reliquaries, many adorned with precious stones, were confiscated and melted down. Yet, not everything was accounted for. Rumors spread that monks, unwilling to surrender their sacred treasures, had hidden them beneath stone floors, within walls, or even buried them in secret locations. Centuries later, occasional discoveries of Tudor-era artifacts beneath church ruins seem to support these claims. What else remains undiscovered, waiting in the shadows of history? Beyond religious treasures, the Tudor elite possessed immense personal wealth. Jewels played a crucial role in asserting power, with queens and noblewomen draping themselves in pearl necklaces, diamond-studded headdresses, and golden girdles. One of the most legendary collections belonged to Anne Boleyn. After her execution in 1536, her jewelry was confiscated, and much of it was repurposed for Jane Seymour, Henry VIII's next wife. But not all of Anne's treasures resurfaced. Some believe loyal supporters smuggled certain pieces out of court, hiding them in secret compartments or passing them down through generations. Could any of these lost jewels still exist today, tucked away in a forgotten collection? Another enigma surrounds Henry VIII's personal crown. Unlike other English regalia, which were traditionally kept within the Tower of London, Henry's crown was said to be unique, crafted with an extravagant array of rubies, sapphires, and pearls. Yet, by the time Oliver Cromwell rose to power in the mid-1600s, the crown had disappeared. Some historians believe it was destroyed, melted down to fund the Commonwealth government. Others, however, whisper of a different fate. A few records suggest that parts of the crown may have been hidden away, salvaged by royalist sympathizers who refused to see the destruction of such a powerful symbol. Whitehall Palace, the heart of Tudor authority, holds another mystery. This vast complex, once the grandest palace in Europe, burned down in 1698, taking with it countless treasures. Yet, whispers of hidden vaults beneath its ruins have persisted for centuries. Some believe that before its destruction, nobles used secret passages to store their riches. Could Tudor gold still lie beneath modern London, buried beneath layers of history? Perhaps the most tragic loss of Tudor wealth came not from fire or political strife, but from the depths of the sea. The Mary Rose, Henry VIII's prized warship, sank in 1545, taking an untold fortune with it. When its wreck was recovered in 1982, many remarkable artifacts were found, yet much of the ship's rumored treasure was never located. Did looters seize it in the years after the sinking? Or does it still lie buried beneath the silt of the Solent, waiting to be uncovered? As we look back on the Tudor age, we see not just the gleam of gold and the sparkle of jewels, but also the shadows cast by missing fortunes. The treasures of this era were more than just material wealth. They were symbols of power, tools of diplomacy, and remnants of personal stories lost to time. Some may still be hidden, waiting to be found. Others may never resurface, their secrets locked away by history itself. Yet the search for these lost riches continues, driven by curiosity, passion, and the undying allure of the Tudor legacy. Part 2. The Jewels of Anne Boleyn. Anne Boleyn was more than just a queen. She was a symbol of ambition, intrigue, and tragedy. Her rise to power was swift, and her downfall even swifter, ending in her execution on May 19, 1536. Yet long after her death, one of the greatest mysteries of the Tudor era remains unsolved: the fate of her extraordinary collection of jewels. Anne's love of fine jewelry was well known. Portraits depict her adorned in elegant pearl necklaces, delicate gold chains, and the famous spey pendant, a piece that has captivated historians for centuries. Her jewelry was more than decoration. It was a statement of status, power, and influence. As Henry VIII's queen, she had access to some of the finest gemstones in Europe, gifted to her by the king himself or acquired through diplomatic exchanges. But when Anne was arrested and condemned, her possessions were swiftly confiscated. Her gowns, furs, and headdresses were taken, and her jewelry was no exception. Some pieces were repurposed for Jane Seymour, Henry VIII's next queen. Others disappeared into the vast royal treasury. Yet, the full extent of Anne's collection has never been accounted for. What happened to the jewels that were once worn by one of the most infamous women in English history? One of the most intriguing possibilities is that some of Anne's jewelry was smuggled out of court before her execution. It is said that her ladies-in-waiting, many of whom were loyal to her until the very end, may have hidden or taken certain pieces. Some believe her brother George Boleyn may have arranged for their safe keeping before he too met his fate on the scaffold. If so, where did these treasures go? Were they passed down through generations in secret, or are they still waiting to be discovered? A particularly famous piece of Anne's collection was her coronation crown. Unlike the main Tudor crown, Anne's was made specifically for her 1533 coronation. It was adorned with pearls and precious stones, a custom creation for the queen who would soon be discarded by history. Yet, after her fall, this crown vanished from records. Was it destroyed? Or could it still exist, hidden in some forgotten collection? The story of Anne's missing jewelry takes another twist with the famous checkers ring. This delicate gold ring, set with a portrait of Elizabeth I, contains a hidden compartment with a second portrait, a woman some believe is Anne Boleyn. This discovery suggests that Elizabeth, despite never speaking publicly about her mother, may have kept a piece of her memory close. Could it be that Elizabeth inherited more of Anne's jewelry? If so, where did those pieces go after her reign ended? During Elizabeth I's time, there were rumors that a set of jewels once belonging to and had been seen in private collections. Some of these jewels reportedly contained inscriptions linking them to the ill-fated queen. But over time, these pieces disappeared, sold, stolen, or hidden away. The question remains, do they still exist? In recent years, historians have attempted to trace Anne's lost jewels through royal inventories and private collections. Certain pieces in European museums bear striking similarities to the jewelry worn in Anne's portraits. Could some of them have once belonged to her? Without definitive proof, these remain tantalizing possibilities. Another layer to this mystery is the fate of Anne's famous spey pendant. This necklace, depicted in multiple paintings, was one of her signature pieces. Some believe it was taken apart, its pearls and gold repurposed for other royal jewelry. Others suggest it was hidden away, passed down through the Seymour family or another noble house with links to Henry VIII's court. If Anne's jewels do still exist, they are likely in private collections, unrecognized for what they truly are. Tudor jewelry, especially pieces belonging to executed queens, often met one of three fates: destruction, repurposing, or secrecy. Many items were melted down and refashioned for new queens, their original owners erased from memory. Others were stolen, disappearing into the hands of those who saw an opportunity to profit from the chaos surrounding Anne's fall. And some, perhaps the most intriguing possibility of all, were hidden away, their secrets waiting to be uncovered. The search for Anne's lost jewelry continues, fueled by historians, collectors, and those who cannot resist the allure of a Tudor mystery. Perhaps one day a long-forgotten chest in an old country house will be opened, revealing glittering remnants of the past. Or maybe, just maybe, a piece of Anne's jewelry is still worn today, its history unknown to the one who possesses it. The lost jewels of Anne Boleyn remain one of history's most enduring mysteries. A queen who met such a tragic end deserved more than to be erased. And perhaps somewhere in the world, fragments of her story still exist, waiting for the right moment to reappear. Part 3. The Lost Crown of Henry VIII. There are few objects that symbolize absolute power more than a king's crown. It is the ultimate emblem of authority, of divine rule, of a monarch's unbreakable grip over his kingdom. And few crowns in history were as magnificent or as mysteriously lost as the personal crown of Henry VIII. This was no ordinary piece of royal regalia. Unlike the state crown, which was passed down through generations, Henry VIII's personal crown was a custom creation, designed to reflect the immense wealth and power of England's most formidable king. It was crafted from solid gold, encrusted with rubies, emeralds, sapphires, and pearls, and topped with a cross encrusted in diamonds. This crown was not just a piece of jewelry. It was a declaration of Henry's dominance, his unyielding rule, his belief that he was second only to God. And yet, by the mid-1600s, it was gone. The last confirmed sighting of Henry's crown was during the reign of his daughter, Elizabeth I. Records show that it remained part of the royal collection, stored within the Tower of London alongside other ceremonial treasures. But as England descended into civil war in the 1640s, the fate of the crown took a darker turn. When Charles I was executed in 1649, England's monarchy was abolished, and Oliver Cromwell's government systematically dismantled the symbols of royal power. The crowns, scepters, and other coronation regalia were ordered to be broken down, melted into gold bullion, and sold to fund the new Commonwealth. Official documents suggest that Henry VIII's crown met this fate, its jewels stripped, its gold melted, its legacy reduced to nothing more than a memory. But not everyone believes this is the full story. Some accounts suggest that before the crown was destroyed, it was removed from the Tower of London and hidden. There were still royalist sympathizers within England, loyalists who could not bear to see such a powerful symbol of monarchy erased. Was the crown secretly smuggled out, spirited away to the estates of a noble family? If so, where did it go? One of the most intriguing clues emerged in the 19th century. A private collector in Belgium claimed to possess a fragment of what he believed to be Henry VIII's crown, a small piece of enameled gold, said to have been taken from the Tower of London during the chaos of the English Civil War. This fragment was passed down through generations before disappearing once more, leaving behind yet another gap in the crown's elusive history. Another theory suggests that parts of the crown may have been reused in later coronation regalia. Some of the gemstones that once adorned Henry's crown could still exist, repurposed into newer crowns, scepters, or royal jewelry. If this is true, then fragments of the lost crown may still be hiding in plain sight, overlooked and unrecognized for what they once were. In 2012, a remarkable discovery reignited the mystery. A detailed image of Henry VIII's crown was found in a painting of Richard III, revealing new insights into its design and confirming details long thought to be legend. Shortly after, historians announced the discovery of a 16th century Tudor crown motif in a private collection, a relic that bore a striking resemblance to Henry VIII's crown. Could this have been part of the lost treasure? Or was it merely an imitation, a relic of a bygone era rather than a piece of the king's personal regalia? The Tower of London, where the crown was last seen, has long been suspected of hiding more secrets than it reveals. Over the centuries, rumors have persisted of hidden vaults, secret storage rooms, and forgotten chambers beneath the fortress. Some believe that Henry VIII's crown, or at least fragments of it, could still be buried within these walls, locked away in a place long since forgotten. The search for the lost crown continues, driven by historians, treasure hunters, and those who refuse to accept that such a powerful object could have simply vanished. Could a long-forgotten family heirloom, locked away in an aristocratic estate, hold the answer? Could an unsuspecting collector possess a gemstone that once gleamed upon Henry's brow? Or does the crown lie in fragments, waiting to be pieced together once more? One thing remains certain. Henry VIII would never have imagined that his great crown, the ultimate symbol of his authority, would one day become a ghost of history, a treasure lost to time. And yet, the possibility remains that somewhere, hidden beneath centuries of dust, a piece of this legendary crown still exists, waiting to be found. Part 4. Buried Wealth at Whitehall Palace. Whitehall Palace was once the heart of Tudor power. It was the grandest and most expansive royal residence in England, a sprawling complex of halls, galleries, and private chambers that echoed with the footsteps of monarchs and courtiers. Here, Henry VIII ruled in splendor, Elizabeth I held court, and James I shaped the future of the Stuart dynasty. But beneath the grandeur of its public spaces, Whitehall was also a place of secrets. And some believe that among those secrets lies a lost fortune, hidden beneath its foundations. In its prime, Whitehall was more than just a palace. It was a statement of absolute authority. It stretched along the banks of the River Thames, boasting over 1,500 rooms, making it larger than even the Vatican or the Palace of Versailles. Lavishly decorated with tapestries, gold-leaf furniture, and priceless works of art, Whitehall was a reflection of the immense wealth of the Tudor and early Stuart monarchs. But as history has shown, wealth can be as fleeting as power itself. The palace met a tragic fate in 1698, when a great fire tore through its buildings, reducing much of it to ruins. The flames consumed entire wings, destroying priceless artifacts, grand halls, and countless treasures that had been accumulated over centuries. But not everything may have perished in the fire. There have long been whispers of hidden vaults beneath Whitehall, secret passages that once stored royal riches, gold, jewels, and valuable documents that could rewrite history. One of the most enduring rumors involves Henry VIII himself. Known for his paranoia and need for control, Henry was not one to trust easily. It is said that he had a network of secret storage rooms beneath Whitehall, where he hid personal treasures away from prying eyes. Some believe that after his death, these hidden caches were forgotten, lost beneath the palace, as new monarchs reshaped its layout. Could some of his private wealth still be buried beneath the streets of modern London? Adding to the intrigue is the legend of the hidden Tudor hoard. In the late 17th century, before the Great Fire, a chambermaid claimed to have stumbled upon a sealed room deep within the palace. Inside, she reported seeing chests filled with gold coins, rare jewels, and ceremonial objects covered in dust. But before she could return with others to prove her discovery, the fire struck, consuming much of the palace. Had she truly found a hidden royal treasury? Or was it simply a tale born from the ashes of Whitehall's destruction? The layout of Whitehall was notoriously complex, with underground tunnels connecting different parts of the palace. Some of these tunnels were used for security, allowing monarchs to move unseen. Others were rumored to be storage vaults for confidential state papers, sensitive treasures, and emergency funds in times of crisis. Over the years, as London grew and modernized, many of these subterranean passages were sealed, built over, or simply forgotten. In recent decades, archaeological digs near the site of the old palace have uncovered Tudor-era artifacts, fragments of lost rooms, sections of decorative stonework, and even remnants of royal residences that were thought to have been completely destroyed. Yet, no confirmed treasure hoards have been found. Does this mean they never existed? Or does it mean they remain undiscovered, still hidden beneath layers of history? One particularly compelling clue emerged in the early 20th century. During construction work near Whitehall, laborers uncovered a series of underground chambers that had been sealed for centuries. Inside, they found Tudor-era coins, pieces of jewelry, and broken chests, hinting that valuables had once been stored there. But before further excavation could be done, the tunnels were sealed again, lost beneath the ever-changing streets of London. The lost wealth of Whitehall Palace remains one of the great mysteries of Tudor history. If a secret treasure chamber does exist, it could contain artifacts that redefine what we know about the era. Perhaps a long-lost royal seal, a collection of personal letters from Henry VIII, or even pieces of Anne Boleyn's jewelry still lie beneath the ground, waiting to be uncovered. The possibility continues to intrigue historians and treasure hunters alike. Some believe that with modern technology, ground-penetrating radar, and advanced excavation techniques, the truth about Whitehall's buried wealth could finally be revealed. But until then, the lost treasures of the palace remain hidden, locked away beneath centuries of London's history. Part 5. The Vanishing of the Tudor Crown Jewels. The Tudor dynasty was built on power, but it was adorned with jewels. The crown jewels of England were more than just ornaments. They were sacred symbols of divine right, tangible proof of a monarch's legitimacy, and tools of political authority. From coronation ceremonies to diplomatic negotiations, these dazzling treasures played a vital role in shaping the destiny of a realm. Yet, despite their significance, many of the Tudor crown jewels vanished, their fates shrouded in mystery. Some of the earliest references to the Tudor crown jewels date back to Henry VII, the dynasty's founder. Determined to solidify his reign after his victory at Bosworth, he commissioned new royal regalia, golden crowns, gem-encrusted scepters, and ceremonial orbs. These items were intended not only for use in coronations, but also as displays of royal wealth in times of negotiation or conflict. But the most extravagant expansions to the crown jewels came under his son, Henry VIII. Henry VIII's obsession with grandeur was unmatched. His personal crown, his elaborate state regalia, and the vast collection of ceremonial jewels he amassed transformed England's treasury into one of the most impressive in Europe. The imperial state crown, reportedly adorned with 344 precious stones, was a stunning testament to Tudor opulence. The coronation regalia, including the famous St. Edward's crown, carried immense historical and spiritual significance. But what happened to these priceless relics in the centuries that followed? By the time Elizabeth I ascended the throne, much of the original Tudor crown jewels remained intact, though some pieces had been altered to reflect the changing tastes and needs of the monarchy. The Tudor rose motif was incorporated into several crowns and scepters, signifying the dynasty's hard-won unity after the Wars of the Roses. Elizabeth herself made strategic use of the jewels, ensuring that her public appearances reinforced her divine authority. Yet, despite her careful preservation of the royal regalia, the stability of the crown jewels would not last beyond her reign. With the arrival of the Stuart dynasty under James I, the Tudor crown jewels remained in use, though new additions were made to accommodate the shifting aesthetics of the court. The true catastrophe, however, came during the English Civil War in the 1640s. As tensions between King Charles I and Parliament escalated into outright conflict, the monarchy's assets, including the crown jewels, were placed in jeopardy. When Charles I was executed in 1649, England entered a period of unprecedented upheaval. The monarchy was abolished, and Oliver Cromwell's Commonwealth took power. In an effort to erase the symbols of royal rule, Parliament ordered the destruction of the crown jewels. Gold items were melted down, their precious metals used to fund the new government. Gemstones were removed, sold, or lost to history. The coronation regalia, some of which had been in use for centuries, was systematically dismantled. Yet, not every piece may have been destroyed. Rumors persist that certain jewels were smuggled out before the purge, hidden by royalist sympathizers who refused to see them lost forever. Some claim that loyal courtiers took portions of the Tudor regalia and concealed them in private estates. If true, could fragments of these lost treasures still exist today, hidden in long-forgotten collections? One of the most intriguing possibilities involves the jewels set into Henry VIII's crowns and ceremonial ornaments. Many of these gems were of immense value: sapphires, rubies, and diamonds acquired through diplomatic marriages and military conquests. Though the crowns themselves were reportedly melted down, some of their stones may have survived. There have been occasional discoveries of Tudor-era gemstones in private collections, but without definitive proof of their origins. Their connection to the lost crown jewels remains speculative. Could an heirloom necklace, passed down through generations, contain a ruby that once rested in Henry VIII's crown? Could a ring in a forgotten jewelry box hold a diamond that once adorned Elizabeth I's scepter? The destruction of the Tudor crown jewels marked the end of an era. When the monarchy was restored under Charles II in 1660, new regalia had to be created from scratch. The crown jewels that exist today are not the ones worn by Henry VIII, Elizabeth I, or their predecessors. They are replacements, echoes of what was lost. Yet, the possibility remains that somewhere, hidden away in an antique collection or buried beneath layers of history, pieces of the original Tudor crown jewels still exist. Perhaps a forgotten relic lies within a noble estate, waiting to be recognized for what it truly is. Or maybe, just maybe, one day a long-lost Tudor treasure will reappear, revealing a missing chapter in the story of England's most iconic dynasty. Part 6. The Mystery of the Mary Rose's Lost Treasure. The Mary Rose was Henry VIII's pride and joy, a warship unlike any other, built to cement England's dominance at sea. She was powerful, heavily armed, and designed to strike fear into the hearts of England's enemies. Yet on July 19, 1545, in the midst of battle, she suddenly sank, taking with her over 500 men, and some believe a fortune in Tudor treasure. The sinking of the Mary Rose was one of the greatest maritime disasters of the 16th century. She was leading England's naval forces against a French invasion when, in a matter of moments, she tipped, took on water, and disappeared beneath the waves. The exact reason for her sudden sinking remains debated. Was it a fatal design flaw, a shift in weight, or an enemy cannonball? Whatever the cause, the ship went down quickly, trapping her crew and all she carried in the depths of the Solent, the body of water separating southern England from the Isle of Wight. For centuries, the wreck of the Mary Rose lay undisturbed, hidden beneath layers of silt. Then, in 1982, she was raised from the seabed in one of the most ambitious maritime excavations ever attempted. What emerged was a breathtaking glimpse into Tudor England, a time capsule of a lost world. But among the thousands of artifacts recovered, one thing was conspicuously absent. Where was the rumored treasure? Historical records suggest that the Mary Rose carried valuable cargo on her final voyage. As one of Henry VIII's flagship vessels, she would have been outfitted with expensive weaponry, gold-embellished fittings, and possibly even personal items belonging to high-ranking officers and nobles aboard. Some believe that among the lost items was a chest of royal coins, intended to pay English troops stationed along the coast. If true, then that chest, along with other valuables, may still be resting on the seabed, waiting to be found. Divers and historians working on the Mary Rose project uncovered a wealth of artifacts: longbows, swords, medical equipment, personal belongings, and even the remains of the men who perished with the ship. Yet, no large quantities of gold or jewels have ever been found. This has led some to question whether certain valuables were removed before excavation began, or if they remain buried deeper beneath the layers of shifting seabed sediment. Could the tide still be hiding lost Tudor riches? One particularly tantalizing theory suggests that some of the ship's wealth was looted shortly after it sank. The French, eager to claim a symbolic victory over England, may have sent divers down in the days following the battle to recover what they could. Period accounts describe sea dredgers attempting to reach the wreck, though whether they succeeded in retrieving anything remains unknown. Another possibility is that the treasure remains scattered across the seabed, carried away by currents over centuries. Gold and jewels do not decay like wood or fabric. They survive, waiting to be discovered. Could a future dive uncover coins that once jingled in the pockets of Tudor sailors? Could a glint of gold among the wreckage lead to the lost fortune of the Mary Rose? Modern scanning technology has allowed researchers to map the area around the wreck with incredible precision. Yet, many parts of the site remain unexplored, buried beneath layers of silt and hidden in the shadows of history. Could the last missing pieces of the Mary Rose's treasure still be out there? The ship itself, now preserved and displayed in Portsmouth, stands as a haunting reminder of Henry VIII's lost navy. But her story is not yet fully told. As long as the mystery of her lost riches endures, the legend of the Mary Rose will continue to captivate historians, treasure hunters, and dreamers alike. Part 7. The Hidden Fortune of Thomas Cromwell. Thomas Cromwell rose from humble beginnings to become the most powerful man in England, second only to Henry VIII. He was the architect of the English Reformation, the mastermind behind the dissolution of the monasteries, and the king's most trusted advisor. But with great power came great enemies. In 1540, he fell from favor, arrested and executed on charges of treason and heresy. Yet long after his death, rumors persisted of a vast fortune he had hidden away, a treasure that vanished along with him. Cromwell's rise to power was nothing short of extraordinary. Born to a blacksmith in Putney, he traveled across Europe, amassing knowledge, wealth, and connections before returning to England as a lawyer and statesman. His shrewdness caught the attention of Cardinal Wolsey, and later, Henry VIII himself. By the 1530s, he was at the height of his influence, engineering the king's break from Rome and overseeing the greatest redistribution of wealth in England's history. The dissolution of the monasteries made Cromwell an incredibly rich man. As Henry VIII seized religious houses across the kingdom, Cromwell directed the sale of monastic lands, gold, and relics. Some of this wealth went to the crown, but Cromwell also ensured that a significant portion passed through his own hands. By 1540, he controlled immense sums of money, vast estates, and countless valuables taken from the church. Yet, after his sudden arrest, very little of this fortune was ever accounted for. The speed of Cromwell's downfall left many questions unanswered. One day he was England's most powerful man. The next, he was imprisoned in the Tower of London, abandoned by the king he had served so loyally. His properties were seized, his titles stripped, and his execution quickly arranged. But where did his fortune go? Official records list assets confiscated by the crown, yet they fall far short of what Cromwell was believed to have possessed. Some historians argue that he must have foreseen the danger he was in and taken precautions. Did he hide his wealth in secret vaults before his arrest? Did he entrust it to loyal allies, hoping for a future restoration? One compelling theory suggests that Cromwell concealed some of his riches in the very monasteries he had dismantled. As the chief architect of their destruction, he knew their hidden chambers, underground tunnels, and secret hoards better than anyone. Could he have taken advantage of this knowledge, using the ruins as a vault for his own wealth? There are also whispers of a hidden chest of gold, allegedly smuggled out of England by one of Cromwell's associates before his arrest. Some accounts suggest it was taken to the Low Countries, a region where he had strong financial ties. If true, does this mean that part of Cromwell's lost fortune remains buried in a forgotten European stronghold, waiting to be rediscovered? Adding to the mystery is the disappearance of several valuable relics, once under Cromwell's control. The confiscation of church treasures put him in possession of ornate chalices, gilded crosses, and relics of immeasurable historical value. While some of these were melted down or integrated into the royal treasury, others simply vanished. Did he have them hidden away, perhaps hoping they would one day serve as bargaining tools in a bid for survival? Even centuries after his execution, traces of Cromwell's wealth continue to surface. In the 19th century, a collection of Tudor-era gold coins was discovered within the foundations of a demolished London building once linked to Cromwell. In the 20th century, an antique ring bearing his family crest surfaced in a private collection. Its origins unknown. Are these mere coincidences or remnants of a greater fortune still waiting to be found? The fate of Thomas Cromwell's hidden wealth remains one of the great Tudor mysteries. If he did conceal a portion of his fortune, it has never been found. Did his enemies secretly claim it for themselves? Or is it still out there, buried beneath the ruins of a forgotten monastery, locked away in a hidden vault, waiting for history to reveal its secrets? Part 8. The Enigma of the Boleyn Jewels. And Boleyn was one of the most captivating figures of the Tudor era. She rose from the shadows of the English court to become Henry VIII's queen, only to fall from grace and meet a tragic fate. But beyond the intrigue of her life and death, another mystery lingers. the fate of her extraordinary collection of jewels. Once among the most dazzling in England, the Bullen jewels vanished after her execution, leaving behind only whispers of their whereabouts. Anne's love of fine jewelry was well known. From the moment she caught Henry VIII's eye, she adorned herself with elaborate pieces, using them as symbols of power, favor, and status. Some are gifts from the king, pendants encrusted with diamonds, rubies, and pearls, each carefully chosen to reflect his devotion. Others were family heirlooms, passed down through generations of the ambitious Bullen lineage. But the most famous piece in her collection was the legendary B necklace, a striking chain of pearls with a bold gold initial, from which 3 teardrop pearls dangled. When Anne was arrested in 1536, accused of treason, adultery, and incest, her possessions, including her jewelry, were confiscated. Some of these treasures were absorbed into the royal collection, while others simply disappeared. The Tudor court was rife with opportunists, and Anne's fall created a frenzy among those eager to claim her discarded wealth. Many of Anne's jewels, it is believed, were taken by Henry VIII himself. He had once lavished her with gifts, but after her death, he showed no hesitation in repurposing them. Some may have been given to Jane Seymour, his third wife, as a way of symbolically erasing Anne's influence. Indeed, portraits of later queens, including Jane and Catherine Parr, appear to feature pieces that closely resemble those worn by Anne. But if some of her jewels were passed on, what became of the rest? One persistent theory suggests that Anne's mother, Elizabeth Bullen, managed to retrieve certain pieces before they could be seized. If true, they may have been hidden away within the Bullen family estates or quietly passed to Anne's daughter, Elizabeth I, when she ascended the throne. However, no clear records of such a transfer exist, and Elizabeth was never seen publicly wearing her mother's infamous B necklace or other recognizable Bullen pieces. If she did inherit any of Anne's jewels, she may have kept them locked away as private relics of a mother she never truly knew. Another theory points to the Howard family, Anne's powerful maternal relatives. The Howards remained at court despite Anne's downfall, and some believe they may have discreetly retained certain heirlooms, keeping them out of Henry's reach. Over the centuries, various pieces of jewelry bearing Howard and Bullen insignia have surfaced in private collections, leading some to wonder whether they are fragments of Anne's lost treasure. Perhaps the most tantalizing clue comes from a 17th century inventory of the French royal collection. Among its contents was a piece described as a golden pendant with a large pearl, once belonging to the English queen, and could this have been one of Anne's prized jewels, smuggled out of England and into the hands of a foreign ruler? Despite countless searches and historical inquiries, the ultimate fate of Anne Bullen's jewels remains a mystery. Were they dismantled, their gemstones reset into new pieces to erase their connection to a disgraced queen? Were they hidden away by loyal supporters, lost to time in the depths of an old noble house? Or do they still exist, quietly passed down through generations, their true history forgotten? One thing is certain: if any of Anne's lost jewels were ever rediscovered, they would be among the most valuable and historically significant Tudor artifacts ever found. Their reappearance would not only rewrite history, but also restore a piece of Anne's legacy, allowing the world to see, once again, the brilliance of the queen who changed England forever. Part 9. The Vanished Wealth of Edward VI. Edward VI, the young king who ascended the throne after the death of his father, Henry VIII, was a monarch caught between the ambitions of his regents and the fragile political landscape of 16th century England. His reign, marked by religious reform and political instability, was short, lasting only 6 years, from 1547 to 1553. But in that brief time, Edward amassed a fortune that would disappear almost entirely after his death. The mystery of his wealth, where it went and why it was lost, remains one of the Tudor era's great unsolved puzzles. Edward VI's reign was dominated by regents, primarily his uncle Edward Seymour, Duke of Somerset, and later John Dudley, Duke of Northumberland. As a boy, Edward was far removed from the day-to-day politics of the court, but the crown's treasury was a different matter. In the early years of his reign, the young king's wealth was immense: gold and silver, inherited from his father's extensive royal collection, and the spoils of Henry's ruthless confiscation of church lands. However, much of this wealth was tied up in the delicate balance of political and religious reform that characterized Edward's rule. As a Protestant king, Edward pushed for the dissolution of many remaining Catholic traditions and practices, leading to the sale of church property and the melting down of religious artifacts. This influx of riches should have secured England's economy for years to come, but by the time of his death in 1553, much of his fortune had vanished. Edward's health, frail throughout his life, took a sharp turn for the worse in the spring of 1553. As he grew weaker, his advisors began to position themselves for power, most notably Northumberland, who sought to ensure the succession of his daughter-in-law, Lady Jane Grey, over Edward's half-sister, Mary I. In the weeks leading up to his death, Edward made several decrees, including the appointment of Lady Jane as his successor. But what happened to the royal wealth during this transition? Upon Edward's death, the royal treasury was scrutinized, but no clear record exists of what became of the vast sums amassed during his reign. Some of the royal gold, silver, and jewelry was transferred into the coffers of the new monarch, Mary I, but the rest appeared to have disappeared. It's believed that Northumberland, in his efforts to secure the throne for his family, may have diverted significant amounts of royal treasure for his own use. Was this a deliberate act to ensure his family's fortune, or simply a reflection of the chaotic and unstable nature of Edward's final years? There are also stories suggesting that much of Edward's wealth may have been hidden by his advisors, either in anticipation of the political upheaval after his death or as a form of personal enrichment. Gold and precious gems, which had once filled the royal vaults, seemed to vanish into the shadows of history. Some accounts suggest that Northumberland's family may have taken possession of these assets, hidden them away, or perhaps even sold them off in a desperate bid for financial survival. As their hold on power crumbled, what remains of Edward VI's wealth is difficult to trace. Some artifacts, including some of his personal possessions, have survived: books, manuscripts, and other remnants of the young king's brief reign. But the vast fortune that should have been passed down through generations seems to have evaporated without a trace. One theory posits that the wealth of Edward VI was scattered during his reign's tumultuous final months, as the kingdom was swept up in political and religious strife. Were pieces of the royal treasure hidden in various noble houses, only to be lost to time? Did some of it end up in the hands of the defeated Northumberland family, hidden away in an attic or private vault? The disappearance of Edward's wealth adds another layer of intrigue to the already complex legacy of the Tudor dynasty. The boy king, who died so young and left behind a kingdom in turmoil, has become another symbol of the fragile nature of royal wealth and power. While the gold of Edward's reign may be lost, his story, marked by ambition, tragedy, and the rise and fall of great houses, remains alive in the annals of Tudor history. Part 10. The Secret Treasures of Queen Mary I. Queen Mary I of England, often known as Bloody Mary for her brutal persecution of Protestants, had a reign marked by conflict, religious upheaval, and personal tragedy. Yet beyond the controversies surrounding her, there remains a mysterious side to Mary's life, the enigma of her hidden treasures. Despite her tumultuous reign and eventual failure to secure a lasting dynasty, Queen Mary I is said to have possessed a vast collection of jewels, gold, and priceless relics, many of which have since disappeared. Mary's wealth and jewels were closely tied to the political and dynastic ambitions of her reign. As the daughter of Henry VIII and Catherine of Aragon, her early life was overshadowed by her father's break from the Catholic Church and the upheaval that followed. When Mary ascended to the throne in 1553, she inherited not only the crown but also a treasury fraught with both wealth and tension, as her enemies feared the return of Catholicism and the subsequent redistribution of land and wealth. Mary's jewels were among the most extravagant in England, not unlike those of her father and grandfather. They reflected the grandeur of the Tudor monarchy, often commissioned as gifts to secure alliances or to symbolize royal power. But Mary's jewels were not just symbols of monarchy. Some historians believe they held deeper personal significance for her, tied to her complex and often painful history as a princess and queen. One of the most significant pieces of Mary's collection was the Mary Rose necklace, named after the ship of the same name that had been lost to the sea during the reign of her father. Henry VIII. The necklace, a beautiful combination of pearls and diamonds, was a poignant reminder of her royal heritage and the personal loss she suffered after the death of her mother, Catherine of Aragon. It was said to be one of Mary's most cherished possessions, perhaps the one piece of jewelry that she kept close at all times. Yet, as Mary's reign progressed, the political instability of her time cast a shadow over her wealth. Her marriage to Philip II of Spain, in an attempt to secure a Catholic dynasty, failed to produce the hoped-for heirs, and her reign was marked by religious strife and the failed plans for the return of Catholicism to England. In this period of uncertainty, some of Mary's most valuable possessions began to disappear. After Mary's death in 1558, there was little attention paid to her personal belongings, as her sister, Elizabeth I, ascended the throne and sought to erase the memory of her Catholic predecessor. Elizabeth's rise to power and the subsequent Protestant Reformation that gained momentum during her reign caused many of the symbols of Mary's Catholic rule to be swept away. The royal treasures of Mary I, many of which were her prized jewels, were quietly either repurposed or lost to history. But what happened to them? Some theories suggest that Mary's most precious treasures were hidden away before her death, possibly by loyal Catholic courtiers who feared their destruction under Elizabeth's Protestant rule. These treasures could have been smuggled out of the country, hidden in private collections, or buried beneath the floors of royal estates. Perhaps some of her most valuable items were kept from the public eye and stashed in secret chambers, where they were never found. A curious record from the late 16th century mentions a treasure trove found in a long-forgotten section of the Tower of London, dating to Mary's reign. Among the items were several rings, a pearl-encrusted crown, and a mysterious gold medallion thought to have belonged to Mary herself. Was this a piece of her personal collection? Was it a part of the hidden wealth of her court that she left behind for a future monarch? There are also rumors that the jewels disappeared after Mary's death and may have resurfaced in distant royal courts, especially in Spain, where her widowed husband, Philip II, retained a significant amount of influence over European affairs. Could Mary's treasures have made their way back to Spain, hidden within the crown jewels of the Spanish monarchy? Another theory points to the likelihood that her jewels were melted down or reappropriated under Elizabeth's rule. It was common practice for the crown to melt down the jewels of previous monarchs, especially those associated with fallen dynasties or unpopular regimes. But even if some of Mary's jewels were dismantled, could pieces of them still exist, possibly embedded in new regalia or hidden in private European collections? The mystery of Mary's treasures endures as one of the great Tudor enigmas. While most of her jewels have never been recovered, there is always the possibility that somewhere, hidden in an old collection or forgotten chest, lies a piece of history lost to time. Whether they were stolen, hidden, or melted down, the fate of Mary I's personal wealth remains a captivating puzzle, offering a glimpse into the opulent yet turbulent world of England's Catholic Queen. Part 11. The Untold Fortune of Queen Elizabeth I. Queen Elizabeth I, the Virgin Queen, is often remembered for her political acumen, her magnificent court, and the golden age she ushered in for England. But beneath the grandeur of her reign lies another mystery, a hidden fortune, rumored to have been amassed through a combination of shrewd diplomacy, piracy, and secretive royal dealings. Unlike her predecessors, Elizabeth never married, and her wealth was the result of strategic maneuvering, carefully hoarded treasures, and untold riches that have yet to be fully accounted for. Elizabeth's reign was marked by the flowering of the English Renaissance, a time of exploration, discovery, and trade. During this period, England expanded its influence across the seas, with English ships led by daring pirates and privateers, raiding Spanish galleons laden with gold from the New World. Figures like Sir Francis Drake and Sir Walter Raleigh brought untold wealth back to the crown, and much of this loot was funneled into Elizabeth's coffers. But how much of this treasure did she really keep for herself? Elizabeth's relationship with her wealth was complex. She was known to be fiercely protective of the crown's finances, often refusing to part with funds for costly ventures or foreign wars. Yet, at the same time, she maintained a lavish court, showering her favorites with riches and indulging in the pomp and ceremony befitting her royal status. This duality raises the question of just how much wealth she truly had, and whether some of it was kept hidden, far from the prying eyes of her court and subjects. Much of the wealth Elizabeth amassed was tied to England's expanding empire and its success in trade and exploration. Her privateer fleet, sanctioned by the Crown, intercepted treasure ships from Spain, enriching both Elizabeth's treasury and her supporters. The most famous of these pirate exploits was the plundering of the Spanish Armada's treasure fleet, an event that, in 1588, saw English ships bringing gold and silver worth millions in today's terms. Yet, despite these immense gains, Elizabeth's personal fortune has remained shrouded in mystery. One of the most fascinating aspects of Elizabeth's wealth is her relationship with her jewels. Unlike her predecessors, Elizabeth made her jewels a central part of her identity as monarch, using them as symbols of power, divinity, and unrivaled authority. She was frequently depicted wearing crowns and necklaces set with diamonds, rubies, and pearls, each piece more elaborate than the last. These jewels were not just ornaments. They were tools of political power used to sway foreign dignitaries, impress courtiers, and project an image of absolute monarchical power. One such treasure was the Gloriana necklace, a symbol of Elizabeth's divine right to rule and her position as the Virgin Queen of England. The necklace, adorned with a rare assortment of diamonds and emeralds, was a gift from one of her suitors, likely intended to woo her into marriage, though she never accepted such proposals. The necklace is said to have been one of Elizabeth's favorite pieces, but it disappeared shortly after her death, sparking speculation that it had been secreted away to prevent it from falling into the hands of foreign powers. Another iconic piece associated with Elizabeth was the Elizabethan pearl, a singularly large pearl believed to have been gifted to her by a Spanish nobleman. The pearl, which became a centerpiece in Elizabeth's crown jewels, was said to have been worth a fortune, both in monetary and symbolic value. Yet, like many of Elizabeth's treasured possessions, it has vanished from historical records. Was it lost during the political chaos following her death? Did it disappear into the private collections of courtiers or foreign dignitaries? Or was it stolen by those closest to her court, with the knowledge that Elizabeth's passing would give them a chance to lay claim to her treasure? Despite the public display of wealth, Elizabeth's personal fortune remains elusive. Some believe she accumulated vast sums from the raids on Spanish ships, which were often kept in secret vaults and trusted to a select group of courtiers. Others argue that much of her treasure was hidden away in her personal residences, perhaps concealed in the many chests and locked rooms of her palaces, where it would be safe from the eyes of the royal family or the crown. The question of what became of Elizabeth's hidden wealth is further complicated by the fact that much of her wealth was never openly recorded. The fate of some of her most valuable possessions, including her private collections of rare artwork and gold, remains a subject of speculation to this day. Some historians have suggested that Elizabeth's treasure may have been quietly dispersed to her favorites after her death, with portions of it finding their way into the hands of influential figures like Sir Walter Raleigh and Robert Dudley. To this day, no conclusive evidence has emerged to reveal the full extent of Elizabeth's hidden wealth. Her treasures, whether locked in secret chambers or passed down to the next generation of English royalty, remain a tantalizing mystery. The true legacy of Elizabeth's reign may not only be the glittering wealth on display, but the hidden fortune she kept close to her heart, and the secret treasures that continue to elude U.S. Part 12. The Lost Artifacts of the Tudor Royal Navy. The Tudor Royal Navy, under the reigns of Henry VIII and his successors, transformed England into a maritime power. The Navy's evolution, from its early years of piracy and coastal defense to its dominance of the seas, marked a pivotal moment in English history. Yet, despite its grand achievements and the countless treasures it accumulated, much of the Royal Navy's wealth, including priceless artifacts and relics from its most famous ships, has been lost to time. Henry VIII, a king known for his extravagant lifestyle and grand ambitions, recognized the importance of naval power early in his reign. By the time he ascended to the throne in 1509, the Tudor Navy had begun to expand significantly, incorporating more advanced ship designs, larger fleets, and state-of-the-art weaponry. Henry's decision to invest in a formidable navy would pay off in later years, particularly during his clashes with France and Spain. One of the most famous ships of the Tudor Navy was the Mary Rose, a warship commissioned by Henry VIII in the early 1500s. It was one of the largest and most advanced ships of its time, equipped with numerous cannons and designed for both battle and transport. The Mary Rose served with distinction until 1545, when it sank during a battle against the French fleet, tragically taking the lives of over 400 men. For centuries, the fate of the ship and its contents remained a mystery. But in 1982, the wreckage of the Mary Rose was discovered off the coast of Portsmouth. The excavation of the Mary Rose revealed a trove of treasures, tools, personal items, weapons, and even the remains of the crew, preserved for centuries beneath the sea. Many of these artifacts, including pieces of the ship's armor, navigational instruments, and clothing, have been carefully preserved and displayed in the Mary Rose Museum. However, not all of the Mary Rose's treasures were recovered, and some artifacts remain lost, hidden beneath the ocean, or destroyed over time. While the Mary Rose stands as a testament to Tudor naval prowess, it is not the only ship with missing treasures. The Victory, another prominent vessel built during Henry VIII's reign, also met an untimely end, and much of his wealth has disappeared. Descriptions of the ship's magnificent armor and weaponry suggest that it was a floating treasure chest, laden with gold, silver, and jewels. But unlike the Mary Rose, no trace of the Victory has ever been definitively discovered, and its treasures remain lost to history. The loss of the Mary Rose and other Tudor ships highlights a broader theme: the destruction of priceless naval artifacts over time. Ships were often equipped with the finest materials available: gold leaf, precious metals, intricate carvings, and even exotic goods from far-flung parts of the world. These artifacts were often looted or lost during battle or shipwrecks, with little hope of recovery in the centuries that followed. Beyond the ships themselves, many other naval treasures were lost over time, especially as the Tudor Navy continued to expand and engage in increasingly complex naval campaigns. During the reign of Elizabeth I, the Navy grew to unprecedented levels, aided by privateers and adventurers who plundered Spanish ships and returned with wealth that was often used to fund the Navy's operations. Some of these treasures were thought to be used to enhance the Navy's ships and fortifications, but the specifics of what was lost in these ventures are unclear. One particularly mysterious incident took place during the Spanish Armada of 1588. The English fleet, commanded by Lord Howard of Effingham, engaged the Spanish in a fierce battle, resulting in the retreat of the Armada back to Spain. Amidst the confusion, it is believed that a number of Spanish treasure ships were lost to the sea, their valuable cargo never recovered. Could some of this treasure have been taken by English ships, never to be documented or reported? Was it hidden away by sailors or royal officials, perhaps stashed in secret locations along England's coasts? While some of these lost treasures might have simply been swept away by the sea, others may have been deliberately hidden or hoarded by naval officers, sailors, or merchants who knew the value of their findings. Documents from the Tudor period suggest that private individuals sometimes profited from shipwrecks, secretly gathering treasures and keeping them out of the public eye. As the centuries passed, many of the Tudor Navy ships were abandoned, and their treasures faded into history. Their riches were slowly replaced by the wealth of later dynasties, and the records of what had been lost became increasingly sparse. Yet, historians and treasure hunters still search for the remnants of these magnificent vessels and the valuable artifacts they carried. From the wrecks of the Mary Rose to the rumors of hidden loot from the Victory, the lost treasures of the Tudor Royal Navy remain one of the greatest mysteries of England's maritime past. The fascination with these lost naval artifacts endures because they represent more than just material wealth. They symbolize the power, ambition, and global reach of the Tudor monarchy. Their rediscovery would not only shed light on England's naval history, but also offer a rare glimpse into the opulence and innovation that marked the golden age of Tudor exploration and naval supremacy. Part 13. The Forgotten Art of Tudor Alchemy and Its Hidden Wealth. Alchemy in Tudor England was much more than the mystical pursuit of turning base metals into gold. It was a practice deeply intertwined with the royal court, politics, and the acquisition of wealth. During the reigns of Henry VIII, Edward VI, and Elizabeth I, alchemy was seen as a powerful tool, both for securing financial prosperity and for asserting the intellectual superiority of the monarchy. But while many alchemists of the era were celebrated for their contributions, others secretly accumulated riches and hidden knowledge that would be lost to history, sparking the mystery of the Tudor alchemists and their forgotten wealth. The practice of alchemy in Tudor England was influenced by the medieval tradition, which had long sought to transmute simple metals, like lead, into precious metals such as gold. However, in the Tudor period, alchemy took on new meanings, expanding beyond just metallurgical experiments to include the search for elixirs of life, the creation of philosopher's stones, and the pursuit of knowledge that could grant eternal youth or immortality. This mixture of science and mysticism attracted many in the court, including the monarchs themselves, who saw alchemy as a way to secure wealth and power in an age where gold was an essential symbol of authority. Henry VIII, known for his lavish lifestyle and immense wealth, had a personal interest in the art of alchemy. He was not only an avid patron of alchemists, but also surrounded himself with experts in the field, hoping to unlock the secrets of turning base metals into gold. Many alchemists were invited to the royal court to demonstrate their skills, and Henry's fascination with the possibility of acquiring endless riches was no secret. However, despite the efforts of these skilled men, no one ever succeeded in turning base metals into gold. Yet the pursuit of alchemical wealth went beyond simple metallurgy, especially under the rule of Queen Elizabeth I. As the Queen faced financial challenges due to war, rebellion, and political instability, alchemists were called upon once more, this time in hopes of securing resources to sustain her reign. During this period, some alchemists gained a reputation not only for their theories about wealth, but for their successful discoveries of substances that could enhance the value of existing treasures. It is believed that some Tudor alchemists may have hidden their wealth, making it impossible for modern historians to trace their full contributions. Perhaps the most famous of these alchemists was John Dee, an astrologer, mathematician, and court advisor to Elizabeth I. Dee was fascinated by alchemy and its potential to unlock hidden riches, and his influence at court grew as he gained the Queen's favor. Dee is said to have experimented with alchemical processes, though his most well-known pursuits involved attempts to communicate with angels and explore the esoteric sciences. His intellectual influence was profound, but his personal wealth, if any, remains a mystery. Dee left behind an extensive collection of writings, some of which include references to alchemical experiments and ideas, but there are no records that definitively point to the discovery of wealth through alchemy. Did Dee and other court alchemists uncover secrets that were hidden from public view? Was their treasure hidden away from the Queen's eyes, perhaps stashed in secret rooms or buried beneath the floors of royal estates? One of the intriguing aspects of Tudor alchemy is the idea that the wealth generated through these experiments might have been intentionally hidden from the public eye. Alchemists were often secretive, not only about their methods, but about their success, due to the immense power that could be gained from the knowledge they possessed. The idea that alchemical discoveries could transform England's fortunes may have led to some treasures being concealed for fear of their misuse, either by rivals or by the government itself. Some theorize that valuable metals, gemstones, or even hidden manuscripts of alchemical formulas were deliberately hidden by court alchemists to prevent them from falling into the wrong hands. Despite the fascination with alchemy, very little concrete evidence exists to suggest that the Tudor alchemists ever achieved their grand goals of discovering gold or immortality. However, the legacy of their work lies in the hidden knowledge and treasure they may have accumulated, treasure that was kept out of the public eye and perhaps even stashed in hidden chambers within the royal palaces. The idea that alchemists might have amassed wealth and kept it secret is further supported by the fact that many of the royal court's richest and most influential figures were alchemists themselves. They possessed vast networks of influence and wealth, and it is not unreasonable to suggest that some portion of this wealth may have been lost, hidden, or purposefully obscured by those in power. Some historians argue that much of the wealth acquired by alchemists in Tudor England may have been siphoned into private estates, where it was buried and kept hidden from the world for fear of royal scrutiny. The wealth amassed through alchemy could have been dispersed over time, carried off to foreign courts, or transformed into priceless artifacts that were themselves hidden or lost. While the Tudor monarchy was marked by its love of luxury and opulence, the influence of alchemy on their wealth and the potential treasures it left behind continues to tantalize scholars and treasure hunters alike. The lost wealth of the Tudor alchemists, whether it was hidden in secret vaults or embedded in the annals of forgotten knowledge, remains one of history's greatest mysteries. Part 14. The Final Secrets of Tudor Treasure. The Tudor dynasty, spanning from Henry VII's rise to power in 1485 through to the death of Elizabeth I in 1603, left behind not only a rich legacy of political and cultural achievement, but also a wealth of mysteries. Chief among them, the secrets of their hidden treasures. For centuries, historians, archaeologists, and treasure hunters have been captivated by the notion that vast sums of Tudor riches were concealed, either out of necessity or by design, to remain out of reach of history. The final secrets of Tudor treasure lie not just in lost jewels or sunken ships, but in the hidden vaults, secret chambers, and forgotten corners of England's royal palaces. Much of what has been lost over time is linked to the political turbulence of the era, constant power struggles, war, and religious upheaval that led to the concealment of treasure in the most unlikely places. The Tudor monarchy, although grand in its ambition and wealth, was often threatened by internal and external forces, making the safeguarding of royal assets a top priority. Some treasures may have been hidden by loyalists to the crown, others by those seeking to keep the wealth for themselves. But the result is the same. Much of the wealth accumulated during the Tudor reign has simply vanished. Perhaps one of the greatest mysteries lies in the aftermath of Queen Elizabeth I's death. As the last of the Tudor line, Elizabeth's passing in 1603 marked the end of an era, and her succession by the Stuart monarchy led to a period of great change. Elizabeth's court, filled with courtiers, soldiers, and adventurers, had accumulated vast wealth through piracy, exploration, and trade, but no clear records exist regarding the dispersal of her treasures after her death. The immediate aftermath of Elizabeth's passing saw the sudden disbandment of many court circles, and the loss or redistribution of royal property, some of which may have been buried, hidden, or secretly appropriated by those closest to the Queen. While the Crown moved to secure its assets, many of Elizabeth's most valuable possessions, including her royal jewels, art collections, and personal treasures, were scattered, either claimed by her heirs or lost in the ensuing confusion. In the case of the royal jewels, it is known that Elizabeth I's crown jewels were later catalogued under James I, who succeeded her to the throne. However, historians have noted that some items from Elizabeth's collection were not included in these inventories, raising questions as to whether they were lost, hidden, or simply never recorded. Were their treasures kept hidden in the royal vaults, secreted away in locations too secure for even the most trusted courtiers to find? Did Elizabeth, known for her shrewdness and secrecy, leave behind a hidden fortune that would only be discovered by future generations? One of the most compelling stories of hidden Tudor treasure comes from the reign of Henry VIII, whose passion for riches extended beyond the obvious display of wealth to include secret dealings with merchants, pirates, and foreign dignitaries. It is believed that Henry, during his many wars with France and Spain, may have secretly amassed a fortune from the spoils of war and piracy. Some believe that certain treasure fleets, attacked by English privateers, may have secretly delivered their cargo to royal coffers, only for it to vanish into hidden vaults, waiting to be uncovered centuries later. Another theory centers on the idea that the Tudor monarchy hid treasures in remote locations, perhaps buried in the grounds of royal estates, such as Hampton Court Palace or the Tower of London. The Tower, which had served as a royal palace, prison, and treasury, is often speculated to be the final resting place of countless riches, whether hidden by Tudor monarchs themselves or by those loyal to the crown after the fall of the dynasty. It is also possible that many of the Tudor treasures were lost in a more literal sense. Drowned at sea, numerous Tudor ships, laden with treasure, sank during their voyages, particularly during the years of war and conflict with Spain. Ships such as the Great Harry or the Trophy may have carried riches back from the New World, only to vanish into the depths of the sea, leaving no trace behind. Despite the many clues and hints scattered throughout history, the true extent of Tudor wealth remains elusive. As the centuries passed, much of this treasure may have been looted, melted down, or forgotten in the shifting tides of political power and societal change. What is certain is that the mystery of lost Tudor treasures continues to captivate the imagination, whether in the form of long-lost jewels, hidden gold, or ancient relics from the most famous and storied dynasty in English history. The final secrets of Tudor treasure remain locked away, perhaps forever, beneath the surface of the history books, in forgotten corners of royal estates, or lost to the sea. Yet the search for these treasures, whether through historical inquiry, archaeological discovery, or the passionate pursuit of treasure hunters, continues to inspire those who seek to uncover the past and unravel the mystery of England's greatest hidden wealth. The legacy of Tudor treasure, both the known and the lost, endures as part of the cultural fabric of England. Each discovery, whether tangible or theoretical, brings us closer to understanding the opulence, secrecy, and ambition that defined one of the most fascinating periods in English history. Thank you for joining us on this historical adventure. If you enjoyed the journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Stay tuned for more captivating stories, treasures, and mysteries from history's hidden corners. We look forward to exploring more with you in future episodes. See you soon.